Yoga in that way was an amazing tool for me to create that space of listening to myself. No, for me, getting into the yoga mat was like, okay, this is my space, nothing else from outside, just me, my breath, and my body moving. And through that process, you start realizing a lot of things.
Hi, mein Name ist Dr. Armin Khonsari und das ist der Onaging Podcast. Hier suche ich Antworten auf die Frage How to create a good life. Dabei führe ich Interviews mit Experten aus den Bereichen Longevity und Gesundheit sowie Menschen, die ihre ganz eigene Vorstellung von einem guten Leben gefunden haben. Mein Gast in dieser Folge ist Gema Juárez, Life Coach, Yogalehrerin und Gründerin von Selflove Labs. Vor etwa 6 Jahren erlitt Gema ein schweres Burnout, das ihr Leben grundlegend verändert hat. Als Folge verließ sie die Konzernwelt und widmete sich einem erfüllteren Leben. Heute hilft sie Menschen in ähnlichen Situationen, ihre eigene Version eines guten Lebens zu finden. Für diesen Podcast hatte ich das Vergnügen, Gema in ihrem zweiten Zuhause auf der kanarischen Insel Fuerteventura zu besuchen. Jetzt und ohne weitere Verzögerung, viel Spaß beim Interview mit Gema Juárez.
Welcome back, Gema, to Fuerteventura.
Thank you.
Had a long journey, about 2 months in India. I guess
2 months and a half. Yeah.
2 months and a half. 2 months and a half. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, happy to have you here. I was looking forward to this interview. I think you have so much experience. Other people can really get value from it, and also myself. That's the reason we're doing this interview.
Thank you.
And so my first question is, what was this journey all about?
This journey was originally about doing my second yoga teacher training. I'm a yoga teacher, so I went to India to do the 300 hours of the teacher training. So yeah, that was for the first month in September, and yeah, it was a very intense and challenging process, and at the same time that a very beautiful one. Yeah.
So you were about 1 month, or how long does it take?
The teacher training was 1 month. Yeah, we were involved in the schedule from Monday to Saturday, having just only 1 day off, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to bed at 9:30 maximum. And in between, there was a lot of classes involved. Not only, we were starting with meditation, pranayamas, then practicing yoga, doing philosophy, theory of yoga, like learning the whole thing. And more than learning, it was about living in the house of my teachers, Indian teachers. So they are a family with their kids. So we were in their home, living life as they live, basically. So that was a very interesting thing as well to do, because, for example, like eating lunch, there were no chairs, no tables like we have right now. So we were all sitting on the floor. And while we were serving food to each other, we organized it in groups, for example. So we were serving food to each other. We were chanting mantras. And then before starting eating all together, we were chanting a thankful mantra as well. So it was everything about being conscious of all the time about what we're doing, about helping each other, about being thankful about the things that we have, and learn more about the philosophy of yoga. Because obviously yoga is not only about asanas and the postures that we practice, that what we know here in Europe, but it's way more than that, no? So the whole process, the whole month was about learning yoga not only by theory, but by practicing in all its different aspects.
Yeah, very interesting. And I definitely come back to yoga, because it's like a big part of who you are nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
But I want to shift a little bit to also what you said. You went also traveling the second month. And,
yeah, exactly.
There was something I found really interesting. You said, okay, that was something the old Gema wouldn't have done. So maybe you can go a little bit into that.
Yeah, so after the teacher training, during the teacher training, there were things that the old Gema would have never done, like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Be happy about that.
Yeah.
The old Gema hated getting up early in the morning. That was a nightmare for her. So the new Gema actually appreciates getting up early in the morning and dedicating that time to herself to do things that are good for herself and having the whole day for herself as well, no? And then after the teacher training, we went to the Himalayas mountains, and I did a trekking for 4 days. I never thought in my life that I would do something like that. Like,
why is that?
What?
Why is that? What was
Because I never been like, I would say my body's never been that fit to be able to walk for that long, especially under that conditions, being very cold, the height of we walk up to 4,800 meters up. So your lungs needs to be prepared for that as well. And the challenge of the path as well. At the end of the path, there was a very difficult walk area that I got vertigo. So for me, walking that up was a real challenge. And I realized through yoga, I was able to do it because yoga also teaches you how to be very well concentrated, how you keep your breath in a normal pattern so you don't over-breathe or you don't stress with the situation. No? So I did that. I swam in the waters of the glacier because where we went was where the Ganga River starts, and that's a glacier. So we also swam there as a ceremony as well, because for Indian people, the Ganga River is like very sacred place.
The holy place.
Yeah. So yeah, there were many different things that the old Gema would have never done. Never. No way. And that's a very satisfying thing, seeing the old you and then actual you, and how I evolved and changed it over this period of time.
You're saying it's very satisfying? Why?
Satisfying to see that those things that you thought you were not capable of doing, you actually are capable of doing them. And also because sometimes we think that we are one thing and we get trapped into that fake identity of ourselves. And then suddenly you realize that your identity might be wider than that. And there are more things about you that maybe you don't know about yourself, no? So when you have this capacity to compare yourself from years ago to now, you say, oh, I thought Gema was this and this and this, but suddenly these days I can see that Gema is also this and this and this, no? So like seeing all these different faces of myself is also beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just like for everyone else who doesn't know you, you already said it. You're like you're a life coach nowadays, a yoga teacher, and you live somehow between Fuerteventura and Barcelona.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yeah, totally correct.
Okay. And then you had like this amazing trip that you did, where you managed to discover like new things you weren't thinking you were able to do in the past.
Yeah.
So so you basically living a totally different lifestyle than in the past. So I think it would be interesting to go like back to, I think it was before 2018 or like around 2018, and then see, because you also said new Gema, we're seeing new Gema.
Yeah.
So what was the old Gema like? And I think there are like, you said there are like two major events in your life.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can go a little bit into it yourself, explain, but I just like, I think the two events are like the breakup you had from a long-term relationship back in 2018, and then a couple of years later, a burnout. So I like to discover a little bit this area with you. I think a lot of other people can identify probably also with this experience, and it's really amazing how you went through it and are basically the new Gema right now.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's nice to see where all started. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So maybe you can explain a little bit. Maybe go first 2018, the breakup, and basically founding Selflove Labs. I think this is like really important.
Yeah. So back in 2018 is when it happened what you just said, no? Like I have a breakup from a long-term relationship, like it was almost 10 years with my ex-partner. And that was a breaking point because let's say that the Gema before the breakup didn't know anything about herself, didn't understand her patterns, her way of behaving, the expectation that she had about other people. And let's say she was very focused all the time on others and not on herself, no? So like, and I think this is a very common thing that happened to a high percentage of people, no? We grow up learning to be caring about what other wants, what other people think is right, what I should do. No, you should go to university, have a good job, have a good house. Not that typical thing that sometimes we don't realize that we get trapped in a type of life that doesn't match with us, no? So at that point, before the breakup, I was the kind of person who used to get frustrated with everything, that was expecting always things from everyone else, who was getting mad if I didn't get what I wanted, who was very, like, not accepting the things as they were. I was always like, kind of like, not always, but like very frustrated in general with things. And so the breakup gave me the opportunity to step away from all the external world, from what everyone was expecting me to do or what I thought they were expecting from me, because sometimes it's not what they really expect, but what you think they expect, no? So, and then go inwards and start realizing what was happening to me, what my patterns were, what kind of emotions I have, what my beliefs were, that they were all conditioning the way I was living my life and the way I was living my relationship as well. So that was the first breaking point. Yeah. And then the other one, it was about work, no? Because like we all have different aspects in our life and they all relate into each other, no? So there's not normally it's only just one thing what is happening into your life, but sometimes you need to work on that in different moments because everything at the same time can be like a very big thing or too complicated. But then after that, after years, let's say that with my breakup, I started getting to the path of self-development, self-knowledge. I started doing yoga. So I became more conscious about me, but not only about me, but about everything around me, no? So my job didn't match into that anymore, no? I was working in the corporate world, being a project manager in a big company, doing like working in big projects that they didn't really match with my personal life. So that became a big thing because I was having like a very stressful life with working in projects that I didn't relate to, that I didn't feel that I wanted to help into that kind of projects either. And that creates a lot of frustration, that creates a lack of motivation, and then that can affect your self-esteem. You know, a lot of things can happen because of that. So yeah, I got to a point that I was in a completely burnt out, no, like block, and I was like, what am I meant to do? No, I knew my personal life was going into one direction. I kind of knew that I wanted to help other people to take that same direction in their own way, but I was still stuck in that job because obviously we all need money to live our life, to pay our rent, to pay our expenses and everything. So
yeah. So yeah, very interesting. I think I would like to go a little bit slower here. You already like summarized the two events, but coming back to the breakup. So you founded Selflove Labs. After the breakup, I guess.
Yeah.
As some kind of side project. You also called it a hobby, but I think it was more a
at
serious
that time,
project still, right?
Selflove Labs, because at that time, for me, what I realized at that time is like we don't love ourselves. we are too focused on loving other people and we forget about loving ourselves, because there is this belief that it's selfish to love yourself before the other one, no? So at that time when this concept came to my mind of Selflove Labs, it was like, yeah, man, at the end of the day, everything is about loving yourself. And I use the Instagram account, because the first thing that I did was creating an Instagram account just to be able to speak up what the things that I was learning, the things that I realized about my breakup, about my own beliefs, about my emotions, or how to manage different situations that I realized during that time that I didn't know anything. No? So everything that I was learning, everything that I was integrating, that was my speaker, let's say, to put it all out there. So that's how it started, just as a way to speak up.
to speak up. And does it mean speak in public also about what happens?
At that moment, it was just only writing and posting things, but I didn't really start speaking in public yet.
Yeah.
No.
What I mean is like social media is somehow also public, right? So
yeah, of course. I thought maybe like speaking like this in video,
sure,
no. It was just I kind of like actually I wasn't brave enough to put myself in front of the camera. Everything was like writing, and then being myself at the front came after. But at the beginning, it was just a way of words, like putting words out there and sharing them with the people. Yeah.
Okay. And you already mentioned this, but I think it's really interesting that with the relationship, that's what you said. I think the relationship with yourself is it's like the fundamental part of actually having a relationship with others.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Totally.
And I think another thing that you said that was really interesting for me is that just sitting with yourself without judging can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit more what you mean by this?
Yeah, because normally we are in a very busy, active world in general, no? Let's say, or at least people we live in the big cities. And we're not used to sit down with ourselves. We are not used to suddenly close our eyes and consciously pay attention to what our mind is saying or what our emotions are showing us, no? Because our emotions are also in our body, no? Our body feels pain, feel different things, no? But we're not used to listen to that. So, sitting down and listening to yourself and paying attention to what your mind is telling you, what kind of language or conversation you're having with yourself. Because when you actually stop and pay attention to that, you can realize that sometimes we are very, very critical with ourselves. We are very judgmental, like things like, I shouldn't have done this, and what a stupid behavior that was. How come I allowed this person to do this to me? You know? So we are very demanding to ourselves. And then suddenly when you start listening to yourself in that way and you're able to sit down and just observe these thoughts, and you realize that, you were like, can I say something different to me that it would be more gentle, more beneficial to me? Instead of saying that was a very stupid thing that you did, maybe I can say, well, I didn't know how to do it this time, but next time I will try to do it in a completely different way, So I just realized this and I'm going to do that, being more gentle, being more like, I would say, human in one way, because we have this behavior with ourselves where we expect to be perfect, but the reality is that we're just perfect as we are, Like, we don't need to do everything in a very specific way to be okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It makes sense. What I would be interested in is what you just described. Generally, how did you solve this, or how did you work with this concept after your breakup, and how was it connected to Selflove Labs?
What do you mean?
Like you're saying, like sitting with yourself without judging can be really critical about yourself. So what kind of what kind of bad language did you have personally at that time, and how did you solve it? Like, how did you transform to which kind of language? Just to give like a couple of examples.
Yeah. So one of the things that I used to do was blaming others about everything that happened to me. It was always everyone else's fault, never my fault, no? So I would say that yoga mainly, and a lot of like coaching exercises that help me to become conscious of that. So let's say yoga in that way was an amazing tool for me to create that space of listening to myself. Not for me, getting into the yoga mat was like, okay, this is my space, nothing else from outside, just me, my breath, and my body moving. And through that process, you start realizing a lot of things. It's not about doing just exercise. No, it's about, okay, here I am breathing, moving my body, I'm blocking my body, and then emotions arise, thoughts arise. So that was the space for me, together with meditation, to be able to observe myself from outside, and always kind of like taking that critical voice. Whenever that critical voice was coming, I was like, no, this is just a voice. I'm not paying attention to it. This is no. And the other thing is that was about doing a lot of exercises of like, okay, as I say, no, I'm blaming everyone. Obviously, I got help from people as well. No, and now I help other people to go through those things, but I got help as well too, because by yourself, sometimes it's very difficult to realize those things. So I have people that they were giving me exercises and asking me questions. And then that's the moment you sit down and say, okay, I'm blaming everyone for whatever is happening in my life. And is that really like that? Or do I have any kind of responsibility on this? And the reality is that at that moment, I realized that I was playing the victim role instead of being the responsible role. That this is also something very interesting to realize in life. We can be victims of things, but it's different to live in the victim role all the time. So that's what I was doing. So through those exercises and the capacity to observe myself, to be honest with myself, I was able to start changing that way of thinking, that way of approaching life. Not like I'm the victim. No, now I'm responsible. This is what is happening to me. What can I do with this from here that is in my hands? No.
Yeah, so basically being active and not just passive. Is that
exactly.
Correct?
Yeah.
And what did you do then? What being active? That was doing yoga and Selflove Labs, I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot of discovering again things that I like, because I got to a point when the breakup happened, because this happened too much also to women. No, we learn to look after the others, that I got to a point that I didn't even know what I liked anymore. So it was kind of like being burned again, So I was doing yoga, and then suddenly I realized that I enjoy boxing a lot.
Boxing.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And it looked like a very contradictory, like yoga and boxing, like it doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
But the reality that it was so helpful, because I was working out my whole body, and boxing also gives you the possibility to be very concentrated and focused, and, very conscious as well about your body, because you need to move, protect. So I was kind of like doing little things, discovering new things, like, for example, writing. Writing for me was one thing that happened I went to a women's circle once, and then suddenly they recommended to write, like have a diary. And I was like, oh, I forgot that I actually love writing. Like when I was a little girl, I used to write little...
poems or
not poems, like the stories for kids before they go to, I don't know the name in English, before they go to bed, like bedtime stories. I used to love writing these kind of things. So then I was like, okay, I like writing. And then suddenly I was writing about my own emotions and about the things that were happening to me. So that was very therapeutic as well. So I started kind of like discovering myself. I call this process like coming back to you, because we are in the external world. Relating to the others is about stop and then come back to you, because behind all this, what you're meant to do is the real you, So it's about creating the space to get back to that place.
Yeah, sounds beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful phrase. Coming back home or
coming back home.
To yourself. I like that. I like that. So this all happens. So you had the breakup and everything you just said, Selflove Labs, discovering what you like again.
Yeah.
Boxing, amazing.
Yeah.
I definitely come to this back later. So this happened after that. But still, you were still working, as you said before, in a corporate environment, and still like really working on yourself and helping yourself. But you still had then like 2.5 years later a burnout. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Even like doing all those things.
I had. Actually, that was when some people from work were surprised that I had a burnt out. And I was like, if I didn't do all the things that I did, maybe instead of burnt out, I would be depressed, because the thing is like you can still work on yourself, but if there is a very big element on your life that is not matching with you, that can create a lot of problems in your life. So I was able to manage for 2.5 years. And there was a moment that my body say, Gema, this is enough. You have to stop this. And it's not that gentle, no? When that happens, you go to the doctor. In my case, I have a huge stomach pain and the feeling of willing to vomit every single day. It was like a very, your body, it's a somatic reaction to a stressful situation. No? So my body was giving me signs over and over and over again. And I was managing, doing my thing. But there was a day that was like, no, this is enough. No. And actually, a very interesting thing is that as soon as I stopped working, all this pain disappeared the next day. Normally, people takes longer to relieve all these somatic effects, but in my case, was from one day to another. So it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So can you explain a little bit, just for the context, what type of job you were doing? You don't have to mention the company or anything. But
I was working for a marketing research company doing, involved in marketing research projects. So and I was a project manager. So I have to manage different people in the team and the whole process of the project. No? So obviously we were working for big multinational companies, a lot of pressure, timings very, very short. So it was a mix in between the pressure itself of doing the project, because in this world, everything needs to be fast and quick, no? Because every company, everyone needs to take decisions quickly. So things that years ago we were doing in 3 weeks now needed to be done in 1 week, and maybe you didn't have enough people or a lot of issues were happening, no? So a very stressful situation, together with working in projects that they didn't fulfill me. I was like, I'm helping to sell some products that I wouldn't even buy myself. So that was like a ethical matching there, It's not that I was selling horrible things, but my feeling at that stage is that my personal life was going into a very conscious and slow life, natural life, conscious, like not being too focused on the material things, on having, and being more exactly that conscious and being okay with very little, enjoying the very simple things in life. But then when I was looking into my work life, it was completely the opposite to my personal life. And that, I think that's what it created the higher conflict at that stage, because there was no matching in between me, the real me, and what I was doing for work. So
very interesting. Yeah. So you're saying that this is also a general thing, I guess. If the work you do doesn't basically match the way of life you actually doing your free time. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
This creates a conflict, an inner conflict,
Exactly.
which produces this chronic stress.
It was part of the conflict. Yeah. One thing was the stress generated by the work itself, because the nature of that job is stressful. And the other one was exactly this aspect of like, I don't want to continue selling products that I wouldn't buy myself. You know, like if I do something, I want to do something that contributes to a better world, what I consider a better world, of course, because this might be different to everyone, no? So, yeah.
Okay. And this concept of contributing to a better world, can you say this aligns with the idea of having core values? And so
yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. And to know your values, because we have an issue as well as a society that we sometimes don't even know what values we have. No, like sometimes you read people, I have values. Like, yeah, of course, everyone have values, but what are your core values? And that's an exercise that you have to do too. Sit down and review what are your core values. And that's going to give you also the basement to take decisions in life as well, and to be able to say no to certain things or to say yes to other things. Because if you know what your core values are, then let's say that it's like having a map, no? And you have the different roads that you have, and you know that, you know, through the road that is not matching with your values, you're going to struggle, right? So that's a very important exercise to do. That is something that I did when I had the breakup, because at that time I didn't even know what my values were, you know? You kind of sense and feel, you know, but no, you put them into paper, into words, and then like something that you have in front of you every single day so you don't forget about them. Because I think that's actually one of the major issues, that we ignore it, we put it on the side, and we keep doing things like in automatic, like a pilot, you know, way. And actually at that stage, I had the feeling, you know, that I was walking in life and I want to do like look back and do something at the back, but there was something pushing me, no? Like, no, you have to go in this direction. Like, no, I don't want to go in this direction. But there's a little bit the kind of like the similarity with this, no? You know, your values are there, but someone is pushing you and telling you, no, your values should be this one. It's like, no, I don't want this, you know? So it requires a lot of strength, I would say, to be able to, you know, get to the science. I know you're not pushing me anymore. I decide which direction I take. So, but that needs, it's like a combination, no? Like, again, sitting down, observing, be honest to yourself. The process is not always nice. Okay. Generally, you have to face things that are not funny, not enjoyable at all. But afterwards, it's like, thanks God, you know, like that, like I dedicated the time to sit down and go through this, because now my life is completely different to how it was before.
Yeah, but just like defining the core values, it's already different, or following the path of the core values?
Both of them is important. But not everything happens at the same time. Everything is like a very slow process as well. But once you start, you know, you define your core values together with other things. Of course, there are more things that you need to work on, no? But they give you like a little basement. And then next time you need to do something, you suddenly is like, hold on, but this is not aligned with what I care, or this is not aligned with what is important to me. So it's like, and you say, no, then I don't take it. And just that little decision that sometimes it looks like it's not important, suddenly creates security within you. And then you like feel more like, okay, yeah, now I'm capable to do this kind of things. And I'm capable to say no to certain things. And I'm capable to be loyal to myself. That's the whole concept of self-love to me. The capacity of being able to listen to yourself and to give yourself what you think is right to you. So, and then everything there start creating like a new road, a new way of walking in life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And actually that also falls in line with another question I wanted to ask you, like basically the way out of the burnout, like the transformation. But you already talked a little bit about this. So, but maybe there are also other challenges. So I would be interested in what challenges or obstacles were on the way to come out of the burnout? This could be what you just explained, I guess, that there is a lot of pressure, like from the outside world, not to follow your core values. They want to tell you, like, your boss wants to tell you what is good for you, as you just explained. But like in your case, what were like the main obstacles or challenges you faced to get out of the burnout?
There were few. So one of them, because I was in a burnt out for a long time, but I wasn't brave to give the step to stop, because behind that, one of the things were, I'm not a good professional if I do this. If I stop working, if I complain about that I'm working so many hours, that this level of stress is not normal. So there's some part of like, I'm not considering myself a good professional, what people is going to think about myself, no? So the concern about other people, what they think about you, feeling guilty as well, because for me, when I was able suddenly, so for me, my case, I just explained, I called to the doctor many times and he was like, Gema, you need to stop working. And I say, I can't. This project is on. If I stop working, I'm going to leave my colleagues behind. I can't do it. So I continue working because I didn't want to be known as a bad professional and didn't want to feel guilty to leave my colleagues in the middle of a situation that it wasn't going to be okay for them. Then eventually there was a moment that between one project and another, there was a gap that really happened. And then I called my daughter and she said, Gema, stop. And then at that moment, I was able to do it. But there was still this guilt. There was still this concern about how they were going to deal with things, me leaving sudden, like stopping working like that, So, so the struggle of what other people think, the struggle of guilty, the struggle of what you think about yourself in that context. Yeah.
Yes, a lot.
And also the family. My father, for example, he was very concerned. What are you going to do? What is going to happen? Gema, you need to be careful, work, no? Because my parents, I think every single parent in the world, they are very, especially in their way, my father got into a job and stayed in that job for 20 years, So for him, the concept of losing work or not working, it was like what are you going to do? What are you going to do? No, he was very concerned, and that created a lot of pressure on me as well. But then internally, thanks to all the learnings from the previous years, I knew that all those things that I was saying to myself were just that, thoughts. But within me internally, I knew that I needed to allow all that to happen because that was the path to get out of there.
Very, very interesting. I guess a lot of people can align with this. So the older generation of parents, they have a total different lifestyle, or had a total different thinking of what is a good life.
Yeah.
So totally understand. It's somehow obvious that this would be an obstacle. Yeah. Now hearing it.
Yeah. And let me say that with this at the parents, that's a very interesting and important thing to realize as well. That sometimes many of our behaviors and many of our reactions to things are how we think. It's not our own way of behaving, our own way of thinking. It's our mom, our dad, or our teacher way of thinking, because we learn from that. That was the people that taught us what to think, what to do, or how to do it. But the reality, and this was a big learning for me, when I got the breakup, it's like, you can change that. You don't have to stick to that way. There's a completely different way of doing things. So you can unlearn that and learn a new way of doing in a way that is more convenience for you, or match better with your real self, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in your case, what were the critical shifts in your mindset? You just mentioned a couple of them that made basically the transition away from the corporate focused lifestyle to the new lifestyle. So like the aspects so basically as you said already, your parents told you something, your teachers taught you something.
Yeah.
So I think one of the critical shifts or changes in your mindset would already be okay. These are just what they said correctly. But there are also others, like other like different type of thinkings, or it could be also practical things that
I did.
That you did that helped you to actually do the transformation.
I think the fact that I went through like a very deep self-knowledge process, and I learned to trust my intuition as well. I learned to be okay with thinking differently, to do things differently. That helped a lot.
And sorry for interrupting. When you say differently, what do you mean? Differently than
my parents or the society that I was surrounded by, no? Because everyone is doing the same type of job, the same type of schedule, the same type of life, no? So suddenly I was like, no. There's another way. I'm not doing it, but I know this has to be another way. So I think the self-love is actually what it helped me.
Okay.
Because I built a very good relationship with myself, because this is something people sometimes get confused as well. I can love myself, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have hard times, and that I'm not going to have questions, and I'm not going to be in doubt sometimes. No, I love myself, but I also I'm a human being, no? So I go through things, but how you manage those things is what makes the difference. So let's say that I build a security within myself of being okay with me. That is what it helped me to go through that transformation in the process of the burnt out, and being able to step away from that and hold the difficulties, being okay with the difficulties. You know?
What do you mean by this? So what do you mean by being okay with yourself and also being okay with difficulties?
Yeah, and here the word that comes to my mind is acceptance. And in the yoga world, it's called santosha, that is contentment. So in life, if we expect life to be a line, we can be waiting forever, because that's not going to happen. You know,
Okay.
Life is always up and down. So one of the main objectives in life, that's something that meditation and yoga teach, is to be okay with all the ups and downs, to learn to be still with all these movements. No, so when it comes to yourself, is to be okay with feeling anger, or to feel anxious with something, to not judge that thing, no? And exactly with the work obstacles that I was facing, or the difficulties for me to step away from it. So it's part of like, okay, this is like this. This is what I'm feeling right now. This is the thoughts that are coming to my mind. They are okay. They're part of me, my experience. But I don't criticize them. I don't judge them. I don't put myself down. I just accept that this is what it is, and I manage from this point without being heavy on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know if that answered to your question.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that answers my question.
Yeah.
So basically, all this critical, also what you mentioned before, like after your break, all this critical thoughts that you have, you still can have those, but you're okay with it somehow. Is that correct?
The thing I think with the practice and the time, those critical words might come sometimes. I mean, there's like two effects when you work on yourself for me. The thing that suddenly they disappear from your life because they were kind of like attached to you, but then by learning and seeing them, they go. And then some other things that then they don't go that quickly, or there is more difficult, but you can recognize them. So you observe them and you just see them like that from the distance. So this is a thought. I don't identify myself with this thought. This is a feeling. I don't identify myself with this feeling. It's just what it is. So when you see that from like a movie, no, you're sitting in the cinema and watching the screen, you know that the movie is not real. But you still feel, you still think when the movie is going on. But the reality is that it's not real, no? So you step away from it. So when you are able to develop that observant, non-critical, not judgmental role in your life, you're able to manage things more nicely. they're still gonna move you. You're gonna still feel. You're gonna, you're still a human being, but you manage them in a completely different way.
Yeah, very interesting. So, at what point did you realize that you are out of this burnout phase? I mean, as you said, like you stopped working for this corporate, and then already the next day the somatic pain was gone. Right? But I guess there's also psychological stress.
There was, because for me, actually, there was a process, because I didn't step away completely from the company when the burnout was at its peak. So I stopped working for a while, but I was still officially in the company. So for me, I feel that I stepped away completely from it the minute that the contract with the company was gone. But while I was there, I was kind of like, still kind of like working on myself, and it was stressful because I didn't know what it was going to be the outcome. So there was a process. But I think, like the minute that like I didn't have any more relationship with the company, it's the minute that I was completely over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the next step comes like, okay, now what? Like I'm not working.
So now what?
No, I'm not working for the company. So those things that in my mind were possibilities. I never thought I was going to be a yoga teacher. I never thought that I could be like a life coach. I didn't even know what a life coach was and what they did. So for me, it was all completely new. But through knowing myself, I was like, okay, let's explore this. Let's get into this. And then suddenly I was like, no, I want to help other people too. And this is something very beautiful. And I think when this happens also, it's a sign that you have connected with your inner self at the deeper level as well. Because at the end of the day, we are all here to help each other. No, this is another thing. Self-love is not only about me; it's about how I love you as well. No, because when I become conscious about myself, when I become less judgmental, more gentle, more compassionate about me, and I understand myself deeper, I develop the capacity to understand you deeper as well, and to understand that your behavior might have to do with something that happened to you, some struggles. So when we relate, it's gonna be easier. No, maybe not easier, but I will be able to have the capacity to see you. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's another thing. Self-love is not, I love myself and I don't care about anyone else. No. I love myself, and that gives me the skills, to love other people also with the same love that I love myself.
Yeah, interesting. So I want to shift over a little bit to yoga. We already talked about it. And you tell a story where you about your first ever yoga class.
Yeah.
I think this is a good start into this yoga topic. So can you explain what happened in your first ever yoga class as a student, not as a teacher?
Yeah. So that was the first like a proper yoga experience. I tried yoga at the gym before, but that wasn't the same. So this teacher, that is still my teacher when I am in Barcelona, he used a headset with music and his voice. So that helps to go inwards so quickly and to concentrate. Music has an incredible power as well in our body, no? So I started doing yoga like 4 months after my breakup. So I was in a very sensitive position, let's say. But I went to try this class, and the topic of the day was about love. So this teacher, it's something that I like about him so much. Every class he takes a topic and he talk about this topic for a little bit, and then you practice. And it's a very like inward yoga class, because some other classes are very active. This one active, but not with that intention. The intention is to look inwards, no? So I got into the class so deeply. So I was with my eyes closed, breathing, trying to do it. I didn't know anything. No? I didn't even know how to do the things properly, but I could feel it was like a meditation practice as well, no? And at the end of the class, we always finish in Savasana. That is the relaxation.
That's a lying position.
Lying down, facing up, eyes closed. So you surrender to gravity, to the moment. You try to keep your mind away from everything. No? It's a full relaxation. So he put a song from Björk that it was crazy. So imagine with the headset.
So there's a group of people and everyone is wearing this headset.
Exactly. Correct. So we're listening to the same music and listening to my teacher's voice guidance on the practice. So with that song, I was like completely gone. I was like, then I realized months after, because I didn't know what happened to me, but I got into a trance situation. And I felt when I finished the class, I was like, I think I felt that I was above the floor. Obviously, I wasn't, but I surrendered to the experience completely, and I was super relaxing. So at the end of the class, I was crying, because I felt like a huge liberation as well, And sometimes those things might sound like a big, like I don't know, crazy or I don't know, but like we live our life being blocked completely from ourselves, from our body, from our emotions, from us, So in that class, I was able to like put all those walls down and like all this masks down. I was like, so it was the way that I started practicing yoga, because I was able through the practice of yoga to connect to myself.
That's beautiful. So you talked about your yoga teacher, and thanks for sharing this experience.
Yeah.
It's a really nice way to talk about yoga, I think. So you said your yoga teacher had also a big influence on how you teach yoga nowadays.
Yeah.
Could you go a little bit more into detail what you mean by this? So because nowadays you're yourself a yoga teacher.
Exactly.
Right.
So I teach with the same sense. I for me, as I said, like normally yoga, some people, they don't know much about it, see that it's just an exercise or like a body workout somehow. But yoga has a deeper meaning, And yoga itself as a life philosophy, it's let's say a discipline that helps you to connect to your real self, And that's a process as well. So when I teach yoga, I kind of like follow the same thing that my teacher did in a different way, of course, because we are different, We have different approach. But for me, the important thing is that people is able to connect to their self, to listen to their self, to practice what we were saying at the beginning, that observant not only of what you're saying to your mind. Like, for example, you've been to yoga, right? So you're practicing yoga, and it's an amazing place to realize how you talk to yourself, because suddenly you're in a complicated position and you're like, I don't know how to do this. This guy is doing it better than me. I'm not going to be able to stay here for 5 breaths. And like, what a disaster. I'm sure that I'm looking ridiculous. This is everything going on in your mind when you start doing this kind of thing. And then there's a perfect space to realize how you're talking to you. So during my classes, for example, sometimes I say, observe to what you're saying to yourself, because sometimes you need someone to tell you to observe that, because we don't realize that we are saying that to us. And then you see in class sometimes how people relax suddenly. You say, what are you saying to yourself when you're in this position? Or, in other activities, people, like we grow up learning to be competitive. We need to be the first one. We need to do this better than the other one, So yoga is also a space for putting that away. You're not competing with anyone. You're not comparing yourself to anyone. If you're going to compare yourself to anyone, it's just you, not everyone else. So, for example, when you say you get into some positions, I give variations of the position, because not everyone can reach to everything, right? So there are options. But it's very interesting to see how I say, okay, you start with this one. If you feel comfortable and okay, then you try the next level. And then if you feel comfortable, you can go to the next one. If not, just stay in the first one. Normally, beginners and students they try to go to the most difficult one from the beginning. No?
Yeah.
And I use that kind of things to say, you don't need to reach that far from the beginning. What's the difference? Your body is different to the other person's body. You are different to the other person, and that's okay. So it's a space for respecting yourself as well, and to not demand that much from yourself. Like, we got the whole external world asking us too many things. When you are with yourself, come on, let's be more gentle, right? And the thing is, like, we learned that, like, by forcing that, no, you had to sacrifice yourself. It's true, but not true, because you have to sacrifice till a certain level. And maybe the word is not even sacrifice. You have to do it to a certain level. But I realized through the practice of yoga that when it's easy, then it's okay. When it's not easy, it's not meant to happen. And sometimes we stay in places that are not easy because, like, no, you have to fight for your dreams. You need to do this. You need to do. It's like, hold on a second. Is this my dream? Is this worth it? What if I don't get it? What happened? My life is going to still be okay. Maybe it's even better. So it's about always stop, observe, and listen to yourself. And then your life needs to be all the time aligned with what is happening within you from an honest point of view, of course. And yoga gives you that capacity. And that's what I try to kind of like teach in the yoga classes in a very soft way, no? Because this is still a yoga practice, but through little questions, little reflection, I try to help people to realize those things.
So during the class, you actually ask those questions?
Sometimes, yeah.
To the people, and then...
Yeah, and sometimes I do like a special session that I bring like a little coaching exercise as well. So through the practice, when you finish, your mind is relaxed, because normally we take decisions only with the mind without listening, no? So sometimes I play with that as well. But yeah, I like bringing a little bit of questioning, reflecting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally can relate with this. Probably a lot of people can. And I think it's always really amazing that we all, like, there are so many people in the world, and but there's still like so much similarity between the people.
Yeah.
So that we can talk actually about something that you're experiencing that applies also to others.
Yeah.
I think it's always fascinating that this happens.
Yeah.
And also like my case, when I go, I'm always competitive. When I start something new, I can totally relate with this.
Yeah.
Going surfing, there are so many people that are way better than I am, and I still like, and they're way ahead of me, like years or decades.
Yeah.
But still, in the inner part, I compare with it. So I think a lot of people have it with different things.
Yeah. That's something that we all have learned to do, because that's how our education is been, and how this is how life works. No, like always, no, the football match, you imagine, and there has to be a winner. No, in everything is like there is like a competition, and in somehow there are positive things about that. But sometimes they're not creating any positive effect. And we need to be able to realize when it's not good to be in that competitive mode, no? And then step away and see, oh, how do I feel if I stop doing this? And if it feels right, then keep it, you know? And like it's always about that, putting that level of consciousness in absolutely everything we do.
Yeah, I think it's a very good notion, but I also believe can be really hard to apply it, because by just like telling yourself, okay, don't do that. It's like that there is this famous thought experience when they say, don't think about, I don't know, a dancing bear.
Yeah, so and then you're gonna think about it.
Bear. So, so how do you actually?
How do you do it?
How do you do it? I think this is like the question, right? So
of course, it's not as simple as saying don't do it. Right. But there are some tricks that you can use, or there are some sentences so you can play with changing. Now, for example, you're competing, you're there, not surfing and comparing yourself, and you say, oh, this guy is better than me, maybe I'm not that good. So maybe in the moment, for example, I always use the same example, but I do like this physically. I move my hand and say, no, this is not how I want to think. And then suddenly I'll say, what kind of other sentence I can say. And I say, oh, this guy is very good. I'm going to watch him and learn from him. So by changing your language, by changing the words that you use, you start teaching your brain to connect in different ways. And that's a practice, like when you learn to ride a bike or when you're learning to surf. Practicing takes you to where you want to be or where you can be, because we are not always capable of doing everything. And that's something very important as well to accept. Like some people, when they come to yoga, it's like, no, but I'm not flexible enough, but I don't know how to do this. And sometimes they say something like, I don't know how to do this either, like not because I'm a yoga teacher, means that I'm able to do everything, because my body is my body and it has the capacities that I have. And maybe I don't practice that much this position because my body actually needs another type of positions, So this is another thing, but there are little different tricks, different exercises that you can do to start changing that inner voice, that way you approach life.
So I think this is a good part to go into your coaching and maybe also your personal routines. I think this is really interesting. So you already said, is this like something you also do yourself nowadays? Like when you think, you still do this?
Yeah, of course, I still do it. And I think it's a life thing forever. And there are moments that you feel more in balance and moments that things get twisted, no? Because things happen in your life. So there's different ways, no? The thing is, like, for me, the key is to have like a tool box that you take with you everywhere, no? That toolbox is inside of you, integrated within you. But yeah, I keep writing, not every day. I used to write every single day before. Now I don't do it that much.
Well, what exactly do you write?
Like a diary, like my whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm thinking, just I put it on paper. And that's, for me, is one of the most amazing exercises we can do. And it's so simple. One thing is that by writing, you put everything out of your mind into paper. So it's kind of like you liberate your mind from it. And when you're writing, you slow down your thoughts.
So it also has some
it helps to put things into perspective, no? Because your hand doesn't go squeeze at your mind. So to be able to write, you need to slow down. So it's an amazing exercise. We don't realize that that's part of the effect of writing, but it's super useful. Yeah.
Do you also then write about what you're grateful? Because there's like also this
I
grateful.
What you're grateful for, or what sometimes it's about playing with the words, no? For example, I have to do this. Do you have to, or do you want to? Mm-hmm. Just by changing that word, everything changed. I want to, or I am going to do this, but have to means obligation. So sometimes we are obligating ourselves to do things that in reality we want them to be done. Like the language itself has a huge effect on how we approach the things that we have to do. But yeah, like you were talking about having a routine and having, like things that help you to...
Yeah, I was interested in your personal routine first, and then maybe from there, let's go to what people also can do.
Yeah.
But so what do you personally do I mean, it's like, I think all what you just talked about, it's about psychological or mental health, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like a big part. It's connected also to our body. There's a lot of studies that also show that a lot of somatic or physical illnesses, they also stem like from stress, chronic stress.
Yeah.
So everything you're just saying, like also having a life that is aligned with your core values, that helps to be healthy.
Exactly.
Actually, right? So,
and it's a connection, the whole thing. That's why for me, yoga and coaching match super well together, because yoga is give you through the body and movement and the breath that physical strength that is connected to your mind as well. And then coaching helps you to organize everything that is happening in the mind and through the body as well, no? Putting it together.
So can you explain more in detail? Because you one thing you said before was that yoga and your coaching are aligned.
Yeah.
So also when we previously talked.
Yeah.
So how exactly does this manifest in what you do in your coachings? I mean, you're a yoga teacher, of course.
Yeah.
And you're also a little bit coaching the people during your yoga
during
classes.
the coaching, because that's a natural thing within me. But yeah.
But also the other way, like when you do the coaching, how much yoga is in there? Or where is the yoga in there?
I actually recommend to people, well, sometimes in the coaching sessions, I do a little bit of meditation, or call it mindfulness, no? Like closing your eyes, stay there, breathing technique, because yoga is not only about the asanas, the posture, but it's also about breathing technique, concentration, and meditation, etc. No? So when I am in coaching sessions, sometimes we need to stop and say, no, close your eyes and let's meditate for like, even if it's just 5 minutes. And I bring that to the equation, because it's true that not everyone is willing to do yoga as the typical yoga that we know, but then you can still learn to breathe, because learning to breathe actually is a very important thing, because we don't even know how to breathe. We don't even slow down our breath, expanding our lungs capacity. In the world of yoga, it's called prana. The energy that we have is in our breathing techniques.
So prana is...
the prana is the vital energy that we have in our body, no? So,
and it's connected to breathing exercise.
Exactly. So prana is your breathing capacity. Let's put it in simple words, no? So if you're able to breathe slowly, to hold the breath, to be conscious on your body while you breathe in, that's going to help you to relax automatically. That's going to help you to take consciousness of your body as well, no? So when you approach things, if you're able to slow down the mind and be more conscious of your body, then you can take better decisions, no? So that's the coaching part. That's how everything matches, no? So let's say that when practicing yoga, you take consciousness of your body, and with the coaching, I help to, what I said before, no? Like organize everything that is happening through questions. I don't know, like coaching mainly is about asking questions so you can understand yourself better, no? So yeah, so when people come through from the coaching, also put some sort of the yoga within the coaching sessions as well. Because as I said before, no, we are normally in the mind all the time, and we need to, okay, let's get out of the mind for a little bit and observe the body, observe our breath, and develop that observant. And yeah, if whoever is also willing to do yoga, super open to that as well.
And do you think like the physical part is also really important? Even like if you want to sort out stressful thinking or stressful beliefs?
Yeah, it is super important, because through your body, you develop strength, not only physically, but mentally. Because while you're practicing as well, you're improving. So that helps you to realize that you're capable of doing things. That helps into your self-esteem, into your self-security. Mm-hmm. And then it also gives you, like when you show up for the class also, not even just only the practice of the class, but when you show up for the class, it's like, I did it. Like a few months ago, I wasn't able to compromise to anything. And now suddenly I'm compromised to go to yoga twice a week. So like the thing is, like, I think historically, we've been separating mind from the body, but it's all connected all the time. So what I do with my body, like, for example, I remember my first classes after a few months doing the chaturanga, which is a very challenging thing.
What is it exactly?
Chaturanga is one of the asanas that you practice. So you're in a plank position and you go down with your elbows, and then you come up into upward facing dog. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not and that was super challenging, and is one of the basic. But suddenly you start doing it, and then 4 months later you're able to do it. Like, oh, that's good. So behind that, it's not only the satisfaction of like I did it. It's like you're capable of doing it. You're able to do this. You're able to do other things too. So your self-esteem and your security increase automatically. And then your body feels stronger. Your body also, because of the exercise, you feel more positive, no? Like there are a lot of hormones happening there as well, like, no, movement that has an effect in your mind, of course.
Yeah, definitely. And besides the fact that moving is very healthy and also important for longevity.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's also good for your brain.
Yeah.
And then basically it has like all these feedbacks that going on
Exactly.
there. Yeah, positive feedbacks.
Totally.
Yeah, very interesting. So I would be interested in your personal daily practice. So, for example, in the morning, do you probably have a morning routine? I assume.
I do, but this morning routine has changed over time. So it depends. And that's something I think is very important to mention too, that things can change, that your routine can be different, that you can adapt it to whatever situation you are at and your personal situation, moment of life, no? So for me these days, I am keeping in what I've been doing during the yoga teacher training is getting up early, not at 5, but I'm getting up at around 6 o'clock. And then doing, for sure, half an hour of pranayama, that is the breathing exercises, and meditation. But today, for example, I did yoga. So I kind of like balance. Before, like a year ago, I was practicing yoga every single day. And
in the morning.
Always
Okay.
in the morning before the sun is up. I get up.
So it's dark. Okay.
Dark.
So you
I like it starting when it's dark.
Okay.
Yeah, this is crazy because years ago, like not before 10 o'clock if I was a day off, but now even in my days that I'm not working, I still love getting up early. So I like getting, in yoga, you're meant to do this 45 minutes, the sunrise. And actually the effect is very beautiful as well because you start with the darkness and then you start seeing how the colors of the sky are changing and then the sun comes up. And especially here in Fuerteventura, it's just a gift every single morning.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So now these days I'm moving a lot. So what I'm making sure I keep that pranayama meditation early in the morning. But once I'm here in Fuerteventura, what I normally do is pranayama meditation, yoga, and then swimming in the water, cold water. And then going home, have breakfast, and start with my day.
In the ocean, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're also talking about the winter time.
Yeah.
That's also when you're usually here. So we were talking about cold water.
Yeah, very cold water. Very cold water.
Okay.
But I do it, yeah. And it's just incredible how the whole body gets awake and feels alive, you know, like the combination of breathing, movement, and cold water. It's so powerful.
Yeah, just feel energized after that and ready for the day.
Yeah, and a very important thing for me is like, because, you know, some people struggle with keeping a routine or because you're thinking more about the difficult part of the routine. But if we are able to remember the feeling that you have when you do that routine, it would be easier to do that same thing the next day because you remember how you feel after doing that or why you're doing it. More than, you know, like that's another thing about the mind. We focus on like, wow, I'm so annoying, getting up early, so lazy. But when you're in bed saying this, it's like, how did I feel yesterday when I did this? Man, I felt amazing. Then you get up in a completely different way, you know? But you have to develop that capacity to, when you're there, remember that, no? How did I feel? I felt super good. I want to feel the same again today. And then you just get up.
And then do you use like any kind of mental training, meditation technique to enhance this focusing on the feelings? Or how do you do it?
No, nothing specific. I don't have anything specific. It's just I remember myself.
Just sit down? Or what specific time of the day do you do this? Like when you wake up, you try to focus on the good?
Yeah. I'm talking specifically when you want to do this routine in the morning. No? Mm-hmm. So when you get up, just talking to your brain like, no, it's saying something. No, this is so annoying. It's too early. Where am I going? Mm-hmm. Then suddenly the other side of me is like, no. You're not saying this. You know, it's like you actually feel super good. You're going to feel energized. So let's get up and let's go. Yeah. You know?
And it's also maybe aligned again with talking to you differently, to yourself differently.
That's what I said before. There is something that you're going to be doing all your life. Mm-hmm. Like maybe in the future, I I don't need to talk that much to me because it's already integrated. But sometimes you have to do it because, like we all can be lazy and unmotivated sometimes, no? But the fact is to, again, take the tools that, they work to help you to continue in that way, right?
Very interesting. And then, so you wake up at 6 a.m, and then 45 minutes of breathing technique.
For the breath. Yoga, normally when I practice yoga, I would say, so if we go, because now I'm moving a lot, so that's why it's sometimes keeping the routine is difficult because of the different chains of location and everything. But the important thing is kind of like still getting up to do it, no? And maybe I do get up in the morning. Maybe for someone else, because they have a completely different work schedule, different type of job, different needs, or they feel peace on surfing, no? Surfing can be a very meditative exercise as well, because your mind, get out of there. So whatever that thing is for you, you have to be loyal to it. You need to learn how to be loyal to it. So you say, okay, this worked for me. In my case, it's the morning. Maybe for you, for some people, it's like the lunch break, no? In between works, I say between 1 and 3, and taking time to do 20 minutes meditation, and then maybe eat something healthy and write a little bit, and then I go back to work, whatever that is. But if you need to modify it sometimes, because there are obviously things that are going to influence, but at least keeping the minimum possible, because that's what keeps you on track, no? So for me in this case, because I'm moving these days too much, I'm keeping my focus on the pranayama meditation, but then it will go up to doing the whole thing, no? Pranayama meditation, asana practice, yoga, and then swimming in the ocean. So that probably would take 2 hours of my day.
Okay. So then we are around 8. I like to just maybe briefly pranayama, the breathing exercises. Could you give an example how this looks like, or what you do?
Yeah, so one of them, for example, is called Anuloma Viloma. So basically, that kind of breathing is focused on balancing the capacity that we have to breathe from both nostrils. And you close one nostril, and then you inhale through the left now, for example, then retain the breathing, and then you exhale through the right.
You change basically the
and then on the next inhalation, you inhale through the right, retain, and exhale through the left. And you have to count it in a very specific way. So
you have to what? Sorry.
Count. So if you inhale in 4, for example, you have to retain in 12 and exhale in 8 counts. So that's something that you can do other exercise to be able to do this one, no?
So you inhale how many?
That's an example, okay? So if you inhale in 4 breathing, so you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, then you multiply that for 3, and you retain in 12 and exhale in 8. So the first breathing is the one that is going to mark how long you retain and how long you exhale. So you multiply for 3 on the in retention, and you multiply for 2 on the exhalation.
Okay, but basically the exhalation is longer than the inhalation.
Exactly. So, but that helps you to balance your breathing capacity. So in yoga, it's called the nadis. So that the energetic channels is called, no? That for some people, that might sound weird, but at the end, it's balanced. You feel it actually when you do this exercise. When you finish, you feel the breathing. Like you feel that you're breathing like equally, no? There's balance. So that's one example.
Okay.
Actually, I would say that, the trekking that I did in the Himalayas, I was able to do it because of this kind of exercises. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Because just think that we reach 4,800 meters high. So your lungs needs to be prepared for that. And it was thanks to not only to the pranayama, also the yoga practice, but the pranayama was a huge tool to be able to do this.
basically having trained
the month before.
Months before. Okay.
So the specific month. So then obviously I've done yoga before, so my breathing was already aligned, no? Because when you're doing the yoga practice, it's very important that the movement and the breathing is connected all the time. So when you inhale, you bring your hands up, you inhale with the when you put your hands down, you exhale. So everything is connected. But because of the yoga teacher training, we were doing 4 hours per day of asana practice of yoga, as we know, and then the pranayama meditation in the morning. So that was an intense training before the trekking to the Himalayas. And for sure, that month of intensive training helped me to be able to do that. Otherwise, I would have never been able to do it.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, the whole breathing part is also something that I'm personally also excited right now about getting into it. I mean, it goes also along with the different part of the world has like different names.
Yeah.
Where focus, but also like in the Western world is like in the diving, free diving. They do a lot of breathing exercises, which is really interesting, which has similarities with the yoga practice, for example. Also in martial arts, they're doing it. Wim Hof, for example, the Iceman has some parts of it.
A lot of the things they have to do with your breathing, because through your breathing also you're able to calm your mind, and that takes you to a real concentration state as well. And that's what it allows you to jump into ice. So how are you going to do that if you're thinking and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get frozen? No? You have to relax your mind, and breathing has that capacity.
Exactly. Yeah. It's connected to your nervous system. Yeah.
Exactly.
The part that you're actually not consciously controlling, but with breathing you can control it. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a very interesting part. So I would like to come to one of the main questions of this podcast. I will keep on asking all my guests.
Yeah.
So about crafting or creating a good life. So my question to you is, we talked a lot about it, but I think it's like a way to summarize all those things. Is what does living a good life mean to you personally? Can you define it somehow? Yeah.
For me, a good life means being able to move slow. Because coming from the corporate world and from a big city, you're running all the time. And then that was one of my major nightmares. Like, I felt that time passed so quickly when you live that way. And I didn't like that feeling like the whole year is gone. No. So I like a slow life, taking it easy. So I get up 2 hours of practice, even if I need to get up super early, but I take it slow. I eat slow, and I do everything always being very conscious of what it makes me feel good, no? So a good life is having a nice routine, having healthy and nice food, not rushing too much, and being surrounded by people that match with you as well, that have kind of like a similar lifestyle, people that you can talk to share your feelings, to share your thoughts, the people that validate you, that you feel comfortable with you, having like other activities that make you happy. Like, for example, I love dancing as well. So like, not forgetting that we are here to enjoy as well, no? So like, it's not about work and making money and build an empire, no? It's like, what are you here for? That's the question that we should ask ourselves every single day. What am I here for? And for sure, I'm here to enjoy, no? Like, to enjoy whatever that means to you as well, because I might enjoy life by sitting and reading a book, and some other people might enjoy by going surfing. So that's what I mean. Like, having a happy life is about being conscious of what it makes you feel good, and then giving yourself that, right?
Yeah. So basically, for you personally, being able or having the luxury to live slowly and also intensely, right? So by being aware of everything you do intensely, not having it rush by.
Exactly.
Okay. And how do you how do you help others to define, because you're also a coach, so how do you help people to define this for themselves?
How?
Yeah. Is it like different? Probably it's different depending on the person.
I think one of the main things that I do is helping them to connect with their body.
With your values.
Their body first.
Body.
Their body, yeah. So a lot of meditation, closing the eyes and observing themselves. And then key questions. For this kind of things, for example, I use a lot going back to your childhood as well, no? And those things that you were doing when you were a little kid, when you didn't think much about anything, they're probably still there in a different way, but they might help you to find those things that really move you within you, no? And that's another thing, because sometimes we are living a life that is completely disconnected to what you really enjoyed when you were a kid, no? For example, my thing about writing and bedtime stories, I completely forgot about it, no? So one of the things that I do with my clients is like, well, let's do this thing, and I help them through specific exercises. It's not as simple as not think about your childhood. I like playing with the unconscious as well. But one of the things that helps a lot is going back to your childhood in a very gentle way, because that's something that as a coach as well, I have a responsibility with people, and we are not psychologists. So when you go through those things, it has to be at a level that you don't go to places that might be uncomfortable for that person, and I'm very respectful with those things. So I try to do it in a game way that it takes exactly what I want them to take and not go deeper, no? Like in case there is something else that it might be, because sometimes we think little exercises are not gonna have any negative effect on people, but they can, no? So like maybe the person had like a very like traumatic childhood, and then going there is not a good idea, no? So I try to keep those things very present, no? But in general, when you have a healthy mind, that when you don't have any health issues, mental health issues, no? Like most of the people, it's just about not being aware of many things, no? So in that case, like going back to where did you play when you were a kid, or what did you do on your free time, can give you a lot of knowledge about what you can do now as adults as well, no?
What you actually like.
Yeah.
So how is this also aligned with, so two things. I would like first maybe know like a specific exercise, maybe a easy one, maybe the listeners can also do by themselves, if you can come up with something like this that is easily
like
what you would do in this case.
Well, with themselves, like they ask, no? Like they can ask themselves this question more like at superficial level, no? Like go back into your childhood and write down all the things that you enjoy so much without thinking, no? What kind of games were you playing with your friends? Which ones were you doing by yourself? No, like they can do these things like more like from a mental level. The other ones that I do with closing the eyes and going backwards a little bit, you need someone to guide you there.
Okay, it's like guided meditation.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you do like a guided meditation to pick those things that were important to you in the past. But for themselves, they can just ask themselves, what did I enjoy when I was a little kid? Can I keep doing this thing these days? If sometimes people actually struggle, it's like, no, but that's a kid's thing, no? Like, for example, I had one guy that was like, no, but going with the skateboard, that's for kids. It's like, hold on a second. And we stay there, no? Because like, is it a kid's thing? Do you want to do it? Would you like to get the skateboard and do it? And he's like, yes. Like, so trying to help him to go through this limiting belief that playing with the skateboard is only for kids, but he was willing to get the skateboard and play, no? So it's like, and then you had to go through what is behind that, because he was concerned that other people might think that he's not mature enough because he was playing with the skateboard. That maybe for you and I, it's like, of course you can go. But some people struggle with things like that, no? So it's like, what is stopping you from doing this? What is worrying you, no? You can ask yourself these little questions.
So, what ways are there for overcoming those limiting beliefs?
What?
What ways? I mean, what are there like?
A lot of questioning, because a lot of, for me it's a lot, because we are not conscious about the limiting beliefs. So most of our limiting beliefs, they will disappear when we are able to face them, but we don't realize. Sometimes people don't even know what is a limiting belief. No?
So are you saying it's not possible to do it by yourself? You always need a coach?
Yeah, you can.
It
you
is?
can
Okay.
sometimes. Yeah, of course you can.
So how can you? So that was a good I think it's easier like to talk an example. So with the skateboard, that was a limiting belief.
Yeah.
But I guess in this case, you were coaching that person, so you told that person that's a limiting belief.
I think that to be able to do it to yourself, first you need to be with someone a little bit. I mean, of course. Or you can buy a book or write. I'm sure there are books there that you can do your own exercises as well. But for me, at least, to be able to do it with myself, for example, I first needed to be in the hands of someone else, because I needed to learn what a limiting belief was. I needed to learn how to listen to myself and to be honest with myself, because we deny a lot of things. And for doing that, I needed the role of someone else to help me to get the skills to be able to then be in a situation like, why am I not doing this? No, what is stopping me from doing this? And like, I'm concerned about this. I'm worried about that. No, it's a lot of being super, super honest with you. But to be honest with yourself, you need to be aware of what is there. So we need knowledge. And we sometimes don't have that knowledge. So you need to gain that knowledge first, even if it's just at a theoretical level. You know? Right. Yeah.
And what about discovering a purpose? So is that already an exercise when going back into your childhood, what you like to do? Can that already be an exercise to discover like your purpose that you have in life? Because people, I think that's also what you mentioned before, like need somehow a purpose.
Yeah.
Instead of the core values we talked about and all of this, but you also need a purpose.
It can help you. Yeah. It can help you a lot. But in my case, for example, my little me didn't have the purpose of doing what I'm doing right now. My little me is a representation of what I help people to do, not to be happy with themselves, to enjoy life, to be aligned with themselves. It's a representation, but I never imagined that I was going to be helping other people to do this thing, no? But it can, like going there can help you to get a lot of information that it will be useful when you define your purpose.
Okay. And are there any easy strategies to find your purpose?
Easy, like nothing is easy.
Nothing easy.
Or nothing is. I think the most.
Or let's say beginner exercises for starting to find your purpose.
I think one of the main things is connecting with your passions. No, like identifying what your passions are about, and from there, then you start drawing, no? Because, and this is something that I like doing, is like go big, think, dream, whatever, no? You close your eyes and like, what is something that you will enjoy the most, no? Like, even if in your mind it's telling you, no, but this is not possible, it doesn't matter, dream, go farther, go crazy, put it into paper, and from there, you start giving it the shape of being realistic. But yeah, I think the main thing would be to start connecting what are you passionate about? What is those things that when you do them, you feel like, I really enjoy, I feel connected, I feel in peace. No, sometimes when you're doing something, you lose consciousness of the time, no? And like, you think you've been there for 5 minutes and you've been there for 4 hours, no? So like trying to identify those things that truly move you within you. And then from there, you start shaping them to turn them into, for example, if you want your passion or your purpose, because your purpose doesn't necessarily needs to be your income. No, sometimes your purpose is to live peacefully and calm, and then you do other things on the side that are aligned with that, no. But if you want to turn that into like your job, no, or your profession, then you need to start shaping. Okay, how do I turn this into that, no? But the starting point is connecting with your passion, with that things that move you inside.
Yeah. We've covered a lot of topics. It was a wide range of topics going like through your own personal situation, and also the main emphasis also of the podcast, how to create a good life, of course, your yoga practice, your coaching. And what I like to ask people at the end is if there are any books or movies, can be also documentaries, that had a big impact on their lives. And I think in your case, I also read on your website that you like read a lot and educate yourself, also from what we heard before. So is there anything that had the biggest impact on you, like one or two books, and that you would also recommend?
Yeah, there is The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle is one of the main books for me. And there is another one that is it's called The 5 Wounds of Our Childhood, that helps also to understand a lot about the impact of what happening of our childhood and how we deal with it when we are older. And I would say, but I don't remember exactly the name in English, for
just say it in Spanish.
Gabor Mate is Cuando el cuerpo dice no. So it's about a book that relates
so when to say no, right?
When the body say no, but I know that's not the official translation. But he explained how basically how stress can have a direct impact on the illness that we have, like cancer and other type of body physical body illness, no? So explains very well how the emotional world is connected to our physical world, and how from stress we can damage our body, no, and be sick from it. So that book, those 3 books, I think they're amazing to read.
And they're all going in this direction, or could you explain why those books, like for each of them?
Because the one from the wounds is for me was one of the first books that I read when I had the breakup with my ex-boyfriend, and it helped me a lot to understand my pattern in my relationships with people, from which wound I was mainly having my relationships, not the wound of rejection, the wound of abandonment, and there are many different ones, no? So reading that book can give you an explanation, not only how do you relate to others, but from where you relate to yourself as well, no? And that has to do with that internal language also that we were talking at the beginning, and your expectations with life, with relationship, with people in general, no? And that frustration, that blaming everyone, and it's like, no, look at yourself and understand where all this is coming from. So that book gives you a very clear idea of something very important that we all, in one way or another, have, and is conditioning our life. Then The Power of Now is a representation of how important it is to live in the present moment, which is also what yoga does, not to live here and now, being conscious of you, of yourself. And then the one from Gabor Mate, the one from When the Body Say No, is to be conscious about how the mind and the body, they're totally connected, and how important it is to work on both of them at the same time. And there is another book as well.
Sure,
Sorry.
Sure. As many as you want.
Since I'm a teacher, one of the best yoga books I ever read is a novel. It's actually not like a typical like theoretical yoga book. It's called The Life of Yoga. I think I would need to look into it.
We can look it up later, but The Life of Yoga.
Yeah, it's a novel. So it's about a girl. I don't remember.
Okay, we will look it up. Yeah.
But it's about a girl that is lost into the mountains, and she has a very sacred book with her, and she gets put into jail because they think, I give a little idea. So the people think that she stole this book, but it's actually she's someone holding a lot of knowledge and wisdom from the yoga. So in that book, through that novel, you understand what is the meaning of yoga, as a philosophy level, and the huge positive impact that yoga can have in your life at the physical level, at a mental level. And it's just one of the most beautiful books ever. Yeah.
And it's also a little bit aligned to what you said previously, that the way yoga is taught in Europe is not really as authentic as it is actually in India.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if the word is not authentic or not. Like in Europe, we are very focused on one part of the. So in yoga, there are like 8 steps. So the main objective is to get to samadhi, to the like self-realization, to the illumination, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. So according to Patanjali, there are 8 steps that you need to follow. And asana, the postures, what we do in the mat here in Europe, it's just one of them. But there are 7 others. Yeah, there are 7 others. Yeah. So in Europe and in Western world, we are mainly focused on only this one. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's not that it's not authentic. It's like we're just practicing one part of it.
So it's
but then pranayama is another one. Mm-hmm. Meditation is not, according to the authentic, like, I don't know the word authentic, but meditation is not something that you practice. It's a state in which you get when you practice the other ones. So they are like different, way of seeing it, but obviously makes sense to translate that into our own language as well. Otherwise, people won't understand. No? So if you keep it exactly as they do it, it might be difficult. But eventually, when you start practicing and you're getting into that, then in a natural way, you start opening yourself to all the other ones. No, so that there's an ethical code as well, like not killing, no lying. There are different things involved into the yoga practice that normally people don't know about. But yeah, it's like it's a way of living. It's not just only what you practice in the yoga mat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you call it more like a way of living, or also going already in the direction of a religion?
It's not a religion. Mm-hmm. It might look like a religion, but it's not a religion. It's a life philosophy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah. I think it's always interesting to distinguish.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to know the difference as well. So, but yeah.
Okay. Very cool. My last question to you. What are your next goals and projects?
My next goals and projects.
I mean, you had a big one in India, right? So you came back.
I have to say, now my focus is on my Selflove Labs, basically my project, my business to keep. I have like many different ideas. I want to be able to offer them to more people, and my focus is going to be in there. I don't have like any like big trip plan or anything like that at the moment, but I'm trying to design my life in a way that if I want to go away or I want to do other things, I'm able to do it as well. But this is a very interesting thing as well, because one thing that I learned from yoga also, and that is connected to the acceptance that we were talking about before, is being okay with not having like a to-do list of things in life. Of course, there are a lot of things that excite me, that I would love to do, and places I would like to go, etc. But I learned to be okay if I don't do them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So basically having a list of things you could do.
Yeah, but if I don't do them, that's okay as well, because my happiness is not based on what I do. It's based on who I am.
Who you are right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
That's a beautiful ending on this. So maybe how can people find you? Like if they want, for example, coaching or yoga, and or general, like want to get in contact with you, know about you? Yeah.
So with LinkedIn, I'm more active these days. If people want to reach me out through LinkedIn with Gema Juárez, with my full name, then otherwise Instagram with Selflove Labs, or my website as well, selflovelabs.com. But I say, any of those ways it's good,
And you do also online coaching, so if someone...
And I do yoga and pranayama meditation online as well,
Okay.
Everything online.
Okay, we will put everything then also in the show notes and for everyone to find. Very interesting. Thanks a lot, Gema.
Thank you.
That was very interesting.
It was
Thanks
great
for taking
to be
the
here.
time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Das war's auch schon für heute mit Onaging. Ich hoffe, ihr konntet etwas mitnehmen. Alle Links zu dieser Folge findet ihr wie immer unter dem Video oder in den Shownotes. Wenn es euch gefallen hat, hinterlasst doch gerne ein Abo, liked das Video oder schreibt einen Kommentar. Wenn ihr nichts verpassen wollt, findet ihr mich auf allen gängigen Social-Media-Plattformen unter @Dr. Armin Khonsari. Dort gibt es viel mehr rund um Longevity, Gesundheit und Aging. Vielen Dank und bis zum nächsten Mal.